the Lakota warrior who found a lost woman in the desert, and chose to protect her instead of leave the desert on Kestrel 9, did not look like any world from the inner colonies. It was wide and silent, painted in red sand and black stone. Heat shimmered above the ground like invisible fire. In the far distance, broken towers stood half-buried, remains of an old alien city that nobody fully understood. Toka Red Hawk rode alone across that endless land. He was a Lakota warrior, but also a frontier rider in a new age. On some planets, people called men like him cowboys of the stars. They traveled between outposts, carried supplies, guided caravans, and protected travelers who could not protect themselves. Toka did not wear shiny armor or loud uniforms. His clothes were practical: a dust coat, tough boots, a scarf to cover his face when storms hit. Around his neck, a small carved charm rested near a thin metal tag, two worlds, old and new, always together. His mount looked like a horse from far away, but it was not fully natural. It moved with smooth strength, its joints reinforced with silent alloy, its eyes faintly glowing from a gentle internal power cell. Toka had rescued it years ago and repaired it himself. He called the horse Ash. Ash stepped carefully over cracked stone, the kind that hid sharp edges under sand. Toka's eyes scanned the land the way a hunter watches tall grass. He had learned that the desert never looked dangerous until it was too late. He was on his way to a small settlement called Drygate, a place built beside a deep well where water machines still worked. The people there traded food and metal parts. Toka brought them medicine sometimes. They paid him in fuel cells, cloth, and repair pieces. But today something felt wrong. The air was too still. His wrist device beeped once, then went quiet. That was unusual. The desert storms caused noise in signals, but total silence meant something else. He slowed Ash and lifted his gaze. A faint sound came from the wind. Not a voice, not an animal. A signal. Toka's device flickered again, and this time it showed a weak distress pulse. It was old style, human-made, not alien. It repeated every few seconds like someone had been trying to call for help until the battery almost died. Toka's jaw tightened. Many riders ignored weak signals. It could be a trap. Raiders sometimes used distress beacons to pull good people into bad places. But Toka had seen too many bodies left behind on empty sand, victims of fear and selfishness. He nudged Ash forward. The signal pulled him toward a line of rocky hills and then into a narrow stretch of land where the sand thinned. The ground changed from soft red to dark stone with strange blue cracks running through it. The cracks were not natural. They looked like old circuitry, like the planet itself once held machines. Toka did not like that place. His instincts told him it was a crossing point between human paths and alien secrets. That kind of area attracted trouble. Still, the signal continued. He moved slowly now. His hand stayed close to his side tool, an energy cutter that could also stun. He carried a rifle too, but he hoped he would not need it. The desert already had enough fear in it. As he turned into a shallow canyon, the signal grew clearer. The numbers on his device strengthened from 1 bar to 2, then he saw something pale against the red sand. A body. Toka stopped. Ash lowered its head slightly as if it also sensed the danger. Toka dismounted, keeping his steps light. He did not rush. Rushing was how people got hurt. The woman lay near a broken wall of smooth black stone. The wall was part of an old alien ruin, half collapsed, half swallowed by the desert. Thin glowing lines ran across it, weak and fading like dying stars. The woman's clothes were not desert gear. They were colony travel clothes, light jacket, thin pants, boots not meant for deep sand. Her hair was messy, her face dusty, her lips cracked. A small wrist beacon blinked weakly. She was alive. He could see her chest rise and fall. Toka looked around before touching her. His scanner swept the canyon. No engines, no heat signatures, no footsteps, no movement, only wind. Still, he did not relax. He knelt beside her. Her skin felt hot from the sun, but her hands were cold. That meant dehydration and shock. She had been out here too long. He poured a little water from his canteen onto a cloth and pressed it to her lips. He did not force her mouth open. He waited. Then he gave a few small drops, careful and patient. Her eyelids fluttered. A weak breath left her throat like a quiet sigh. She did not wake fully, but she responded. That was enough. Toka made a quick decision. He slid one arm under her shoulders and the other under her knees. She was lighter than he expected, too light. She had not eaten well in days. He carried her to Ash and lifted her onto the saddle in front of him. Ash shifted weight to keep balance, a smart movement the horse had learned through many trips. Toka mounted behind her and wrapped one arm around her waist to hold her steady. With the other hand, he guided Ash out of the canyon. But as they turned, the alien wall behind them hummed. Toka glanced back. The glowing lines on the ruin brightened, not by a lot, but enough to be noticed. Symbols appeared like floating light beneath the stone's surface, waking as if something recognized the woman's beacon. Toka's stomach tightened. Alien systems did not wake without reason. He did not stop to study it. Not now. He rode hard. The sun moved lower and the desert began to cool. That should have been peaceful, but Toka felt a pressure in the air like a coming storm. He reached his shelter near dusk. It was not a house, not a fort. It was a small hidden place built into a cliff, covered with stone panels and desert paint. Most travelers would ride past it without noticing. Inside were water tanks, a small generator, blankets, and old food packs. Toka carried the woman inside and laid her on a thick blanket. He placed a small heater near her feet, not too close, just enough to bring warmth. Then he prepared a hydration mix, simple and clean. He had learned basic medical care from colony doctors long ago. The desert taught you to learn or die. He lifted the woman's head gently and helped her drink. This time her eyes opened. They were a clear gray-blue, sharp even through exhaustion. For a second she stared at him like a frightened animal. Her body tried to pull away, but she was too weak. "Easy," Toka said in a calm voice. "You're safe here." Her gaze moved over him, his clothing, his markings, his tools. She saw the rifle leaned against the wall. She saw the horse outside the entrance. "Where am I?" she asked. Her voice was dry. "A shelter," he answered. "You were in the canyon near the ruins." Her eyes widened at the word ruins. "No," she whispered. "No, no, you shouldn't." She stopped, breathing hard. Toka waited, giving her space. After a moment, she swallowed and asked, "Did anyone follow you?" "I saw nobody," he said. That did not calm her. "They will come," she said, voice shaking. "They always come." Toka studied her face. Fear was real there, but also something else, guilt maybe, or worry. "Who are they?" he asked. She looked away. He did not push her. Instead, he stood and checked the doorway. The sky outside was turning violet and the first stars appeared. Then he heard it. A distant sound, low and steady, not wind, engines. Toka's hand moved to his rifle. He stepped outside and climbed a few rocks to a higher view. His eyes narrowed. Far across the desert, 3 small lights moved in a straight line. Dust trailed behind them like a tail. Vehicles, fast ones, hunter-style machines. Toka's mind worked quickly. If they were coming here, it meant the woman was not just lost. She was being searched for, and not by people who wanted to rescue her. He returned inside. The woman sat up slightly, struggling, but her eyes were alert now. "You hear them?" she said. "Yes," Toka replied. She took a shaky breath. "You should leave me. If they find me here, they'll burn your shelter and take everything." Toka's face remained steady, but his voice sharpened with truth. "I don't leave people in the sand." Her mouth opened as if she wanted to argue, but no words came. Toka moved to his storage box and pulled out a small field barrier device. He set it near the entrance and activated it. A faint blue shimmer appeared, almost invisible unless you looked closely. Then he checked his gear. A stun tool, a rope launcher, a signal jammer. He did not prepare to destroy. He prepared to stop and escape. That was his way. Outside, the engine sound grew louder. The desert night had begun, and danger was riding toward them with the dark. Toka looked at the woman again and spoke in a voice that did not shake. "Tell me your name," he said. She hesitated, then answered softly, "Lyra." Toka nodded once like he was accepting a promise. "All right, Lyra," he said. "Stay behind me. Whatever happens, you do what I say." Lyra stared at him, surprised. "Why would you help me?" Toka's eyes returned to the doorway where the blue shimmer held steady. "Because someone helped me once," he said, "and because this desert takes enough from people already." The first light of a vehicle appeared over the dunes. And Toka Red Hawk, the frontier warrior, stepped forward to meet whatever was coming, choosing protection, even when the easier choice was to walk away. The desert night felt colder than usual. A thin wind moved across the sand, carrying quiet whispers that made the world feel empty and watchful at the same time. Inside the small stone shelter, the soft blue glow of the defensive barrier flickered near the entrance. Toka stood still, listening. The engine sounds grew louder. 3 vehicles moved across the dunes like dark shadows, their lights cutting through the night. They were fast, low machines built for tracking. Their engines were smooth and controlled, not loud like raider bikes. Whoever rode them knew what they were doing. Behind him, Lyra tried to stand, but her legs trembled. "You should hide," she said quietly. "They are dangerous." Toka did not turn around. His eyes stayed on the desert outside. "Danger is normal here," he replied calmly. He picked up his long rifle but did not aim it yet. His style was careful. He watched first, acted later. The first vehicle slowed near the outer rocks. A scanning light moved across the ground, searching for tracks. Toka had covered most of their trail, but machines were patient hunters. The second vehicle circled wider, trying to cut off escape paths. The third stayed back, almost like it was commanding the others. Toka noticed the pattern immediately. "These are not random hunters," he said quietly. "They are trained." Lyra swallowed. Her face looked pale in the blue light. "They work for a research group," she said. "Private security, they follow orders without question." "Why do they want you?" Toka asked. She hesitated again, as if deciding whether to trust him fully. "I took something they cannot lose," she finally said. Toka nodded slightly. He did not demand details yet. Survival came first. Outside, one of the vehicles stopped about 50 meters from the shelter. A figure stepped out. The person wore a dark suit with a helmet that reflected the stars. A scanner device glowed in their hand. A voice came through a loudspeaker. "Occupant inside the structure," the voice said. "We are searching for a missing woman. Cooperate and you will not be harmed." The words sounded polite, but the tone was cold and empty. Toka stepped forward into the doorway just behind the blue barrier. "She is under my protection," he said calmly. There was a pause, then the voice returned. "Protection is not required. She belongs to our organization." Lyra shook her head behind him. "I do not belong to them," she whispered. Toka felt anger rise slightly, but he kept his voice calm. "She stays here," he said. "Turn around and leave." The desert wind moved between them like a silent witness. The figure outside raised their scanner. It beeped sharply. "Energy barrier detected," the voice said. "You are interfering with an authorized recovery mission." Toka did not respond. Instead, he pressed a small button on his wrist device. Hidden traps beneath the sand activated quietly, ready but not visible. The hunters waited a moment longer. Then one of the vehicles fired a low-energy pulse toward the shelter. The barrier shimmered brighter, absorbing the attack. Blue light spread across its surface like ripples on water. Inside, Lyra gasped. "They won't stop," she said. "They never stop." Toka knew she was right. He stepped fully outside now, standing just in front of the barrier. "I don't want to fight," he said loudly. The figure outside tilted their head slightly. "Then release the target." "No," Toka replied. Silence fell again. Then suddenly the second vehicle moved forward quickly, trying to circle behind the shelter. Toka reacted instantly. He tapped another control on his wrist, and a hidden charge exploded beneath the sand, not strong enough to destroy, but powerful enough to disable movement. The vehicle jerked and stopped, its engine whining. The hunters paused, surprised. Toka took advantage of the moment. "Leave," he said again. "You are not welcome here." The main figure stood still for a long moment, then raised a hand. The other vehicles slowly backed away. Toka watched carefully. Hunters sometimes retreated only to prepare something worse. After a few minutes, the engines faded into the distance, but Toka did not relax. "They will come back," he said quietly. Inside, Lyra sat against the wall, breathing heavily. "I told you," she said. "They won't give up." Toka removed his dust coat and hung it near the wall. He poured water into a small metal cup and handed it to her. "Now you tell me everything," he said. She nodded slowly. "They were studying the ruins," she began. "I worked with them at first. I believed they wanted knowledge and maybe even peace." "What changed?" Toka asked. Her eyes lowered. "They discovered a core system inside the ruins," she said. "It controls environmental energy, storms, climate, even geological shifts. It is ancient technology, but still alive." Toka listened carefully. "They want to turn it into a weapon," she continued. "If they control weather across planets, they can force entire colonies to surrender without fighting." Toka felt the weight of her words. "That kind of power should not belong to anyone," he said quietly. "I tried to stop them," she said. "I copied the access data and escaped. Without me, they cannot fully activate the system." That explained everything. "You didn't just run," Toka said. "You protected others." She gave a small, sad smile. "Maybe, but now I have brought danger to you." Toka shook his head. "You didn't bring danger," he said. "They chose it." Outside, the stars shone brighter as the night deepened. Toka walked to a small map display on the wall. He studied the desert routes. "We cannot stay here," he said. "This shelter is safe only for a short time." Lyra nodded. "There is another entrance to the ruins," she said. "Hidden beneath the western cliffs. If we reach it first, we can shut down the system permanently." Toka considered her words. Riding toward danger was not new for him, but this time felt different. This was not just survival, it was a choice that could change many lives. He turned back to her. "We leave before sunrise," he said. She looked surprised. "You will help me?" she asked. Toka's expression remained calm but firm. "A warrior protects balance," he said simply. "And you need protection." Outside, the wind grew stronger, carrying sand across the ground like waves. Lyra watched him prepare supplies, water packs, energy cells, ropes, tools. His movements were steady and confident, as if every action had purpose. For the first time since escaping the hunters, she felt safe, not because the danger was gone, but because someone had chosen to stand beside her. As dawn approached, the desert turned pale gold. Toka led Ash outside and adjusted the saddle for two riders. Lyra stepped into the early light, feeling the cold air on her face. The horizon looked endless, filled with unknown paths. Toka helped her onto the saddle. "Hold tight," he said. She nodded. They rode away from the shelter just as the sun began to rise. Behind them, far across the dunes, faint lights appeared again, the hunters returning with more machines. The chase had begun. And this time, Toka and Lyra were riding toward the heart of the mystery instead of away from it. Uld be dangerous, but also sacred. Many Lakota stories spoke of spirits that protected balance. Maybe this system was something similar, created by a lost civilization. "They want to control it," she continued. "But it cannot be forced. It responds only to certain people." "People like you?" he asked. She nodded slowly. "I helped unlock part of its language patterns," she said. "That is why they need me alive." Toka understood now why the hunters had not attacked fully the previous night. They needed her. The ground trembled slightly beneath their feet. Toka's head turned instantly. Far away, dust clouds rose into the sky, vehicles more than before. "They found our trail," he said quietly. Lyra's face tightened. "We cannot outrun them forever." Toka studied the landscape. Ahead, the cliffs grew taller, forming a narrow canyon that led toward the western ruins. "We don't run forever," he said. "We reach the destination first." They mounted Ash again and rode forward. The path became rougher. Sharp rocks cut through the sand, forcing Ash to slow down. The canyon walls rose high on both sides, blocking most of the sunlight. Shadows made the air cooler, but also more dangerous. Toka felt watched. He stopped suddenly and raised his hand. "What is it?" Lyra whispered. He listened carefully. A faint clicking sound echoed between the rocks. Not natural. Small drones rose from behind a stone pillar, their metal bodies reflecting light. They hovered silently, scanning. Toka reacted quickly. He activated a signal jammer on his belt. The drones flickered, their lights blinking rapidly. "They are marking our position," Lyra said. "Not anymore," Toka replied. He threw a small energy net toward them. The net expanded midair and wrapped around the drones, forcing them to crash against the canyon wall. Silence returned, but Toka knew this meant the hunters were close. They moved faster now. After several hours, the canyon opened into a wide valley. In the center stood a massive structure half buried beneath sand, the western entrance to the ruins. Tall pillars reached toward the sky like ancient guardians. Strange symbols glowed faintly along their surfaces. Lyra's breath caught. "We made it," she whispered. Toka slowed Ash as they approached. The air felt different here, heavier, charged with invisible energy. His instincts told him this place was powerful. As they reached the entrance, a smooth stone door slid open silently, reacting to Lyra's presence. Inside, soft light illuminated long corridors. The walls looked alive, shifting slowly with patterns that moved like flowing water. Toka dismounted and helped Lyra down. "This place is awake," he said quietly. "Yes," she replied. "It always was." They stepped inside together. The door closed behind them, sealing out the desert. The interior felt calm and silent. Floating lights followed their movement, guiding them deeper. Symbols appeared on the walls, forming shapes that almost looked like language. Lyra moved with purpose. "The core chamber is ahead," she said. "If we reach it before the hunters, we can shut everything down." But before they reached the next hall, a loud boom echoed from outside. The ground shook. "They're here," Toka said. He turned toward the entrance. I will slow them down, he said. No, Lyra said quickly. We stay together. Toka shook his head. You know the system, he said. I know how to fight, we do our strengths. She hesitated, fear filling her eyes. You might not come back, she said. He gave a small, calm smile. A warrior accepts risk, he said, but I don't plan to lose. She nodded slowly, trusting him. Toka handed her a small defensive device. Press this if someone gets close, he said. Then he turned and walked back toward the entrance. Outside, the hunters had arrived in full force. 5 vehicles surrounded the ruin. Figures moved quickly, preparing heavy equipment. Toka stepped into the open, using the pillars as cover. He activated hidden charges he had placed earlier along their path. Explosions erupted in controlled bursts, sending sand into the air and forcing the hunters to spread out. He moved fast, using the environment instead of direct attacks. He disabled engines, cut power lines, and created confusion. The hunters were skilled, but they were not prepared for someone who fought like both a cowboy tracker and a traditional warrior. Inside, Lyra reached a circular chamber. At the center floated a glowing sphere surrounded by rings of light. Symbols flowed across its surface like living energy. She approached slowly. I came back, she whispered. The sphere brightened. A soft tone filled the air, almost like a voice without words. Lyra placed her hand on a panel. I need your help, she said quietly. We must stop them. Outside, another explosion echoed. Time was running out. And as Toka fought to protect the entrance, Lyra began the process that could change the fate of the desert forever. The desert trembled under the rising sound of engines and energy blasts. Outside the ancient ruins, sand lifted into the air like waves during a storm. Toka moved between the tall stone pillars, calm and focused despite the chaos around him. The hunters had surrounded the entrance completely. Their machines hovered low above the ground, scanning constantly. Bright beams of light searched for movement. They were patient and precise, not reckless like raiders. That made them more dangerous. Toka took cover behind a broken pillar and watched their movements carefully. He did not fight with anger. He fought with purpose. One hunter moved closer to the entrance, carrying a heavy tool designed to break through stone barriers. Toka pressed a small control on his wrist device. A hidden trap beneath the sand activated, releasing a burst of energy that knocked the hunter off balance without causing serious harm. Toka stepped forward quickly and disabled the tool with a precise strike. Stop, he called out firmly. This place is protected. Leave now. The hunters did not respond with words. Instead, 2 more advanced forward, raising their weapons. Blue energy flashes shot toward him. Toka rolled behind cover as the blast struck the stone, sending dust into the air. He waited for the right moment, then used a rope launcher to pull one hunter off their feet. The movement was fast and controlled. He avoided lethal force whenever possible. Inside the ruins, Lyra stood before the glowing sphere. The chamber hummed with deep, powerful energy. Rings of light moved slowly around the core, responding to her presence. Her heart raced. She remembered the first time she had seen this place, how beautiful and frightening it felt at the same time. The ancient intelligence inside the system was not cold like human machines. It felt aware, like it watched her with silent curiosity. Symbols appeared around her, floating in the air. She reached out and touched the central panel. I came to stop them, she said softly. They want to control you. They want to use you as a weapon. The lights brightened in response. A low tone filled the room, almost like a question. I don't want control, she continued. I want balance. The symbols shifted, forming new shapes. Outside, another explosion echoed through the ruins. Dust fell from the ceiling. Lyra closed her eyes and focused. She remembered the data she had studied, the patterns she had learned. Slowly, she moved her hands across the panel, activating sequences that only she could access. A stream of light flowed around her wrists, scanning and reading her energy. The system was deciding. Meanwhile, Toka fought to keep the hunters away from the entrance. One of their vehicles activated a heavy weapon, sending a strong pulse against the ruins. The ancient stone glowed briefly but held strong. Toka knew he could not hold them forever. He moved quickly across the battlefield, using speed and strategy. He triggered another hidden trap, creating a wall of dust that blocked their vision. Then he repositioned himself closer to the doorway. His breathing remained steady. He trusted Lyra to finish what she had started. A voice suddenly came through a loudspeaker. Final warning, it said. Surrender the target or we will destroy the structure. Toka stood straight, his figure strong against the desert wind. "You do not understand this place," he said calmly. "Leave before you make a mistake you cannot fix." The hunters paused. Then the heavy weapon powered up again, glowing brighter. Inside, the chamber reacted to the rising danger. The glowing sphere pulsed rapidly. Lyra felt warmth spread through her body as the system connected deeper with her. Images filled her mind, storms forming over oceans, deserts turning green, mountains shifting slowly over centuries. The intelligence was ancient, powerful, and patient. "I know you are protecting this world," she whispered. "Help me protect it too." The light suddenly expanded, forming a bright circle around her. Outside, the heavy weapon fired. A massive wave of energy shot toward the ruins. Toka braced himself, expecting impact. But before the blast reached the structure, a shield of golden light appeared around the entire ruin. The energy wave struck it and dissolved harmlessly into the air. The hunters froze. The ground began to vibrate softly. From the ruins, waves of light spread outward across the desert. Every hunter vehicle flickered as their systems lost power one by one. Engines shut down. Weapons turned silent. Toka lowered his rifle slowly. The battle was ending. The glowing shield faded, leaving the desert quiet again. One by one, the hunters retreated, dragging their disabled machines away from the area. Without power, they had no choice but to leave. Toka watched until the last light disappeared beyond the dunes. Only then did he turn back toward the entrance. Inside the chamber, Lyra stepped away from the core. The lights had softened, becoming calm and steady. "You did it," Toka said as he approached. She nodded, breathing deeply. "The system chose to remain neutral," she explained. "It shut down external access. Nobody can control it now." Toka looked at the glowing sphere with respect. "Balance," he said quietly. "Yes," she replied. "It will protect itself from misuse." They stood in silence for a moment, feeling the peaceful energy of the ancient place. Outside, the desert sky had turned orange as evening approached. The storm of battle was gone, replaced by calm wind and endless horizon. Lyra turned to Toka. "You could have left me," she said. "You had no reason to stay." Toka looked toward the doorway where Ash waited patiently. "A warrior protects when protection is needed," he said simply. She smiled softly. "What will you do now?" she asked. Toka shrugged lightly. "Keep traveling," he said. "The desert always has another path." She hesitated. "Maybe I could travel with you," she said quietly. "Not because I need saving, but because I want to help." Toka studied her face, seeing strength there now instead of fear. He nodded slowly. "The road is long," he said, "but you are welcome." They walked outside together. The sky above was filled with stars beginning to appear, shining bright against the deepening night. Toka helped her onto Ash, then mounted behind her. Without looking back, they rode away from the ruins, not as strangers anymore, but as partners who had chosen to protect balance instead of power. And across the desert, stories began to spread of a Lakota warrior and a lost woman who changed the fate of an ancient world, not through destruction, but through courage, trust, and the choice to protect when it mattered most.